The question will be, whose leg is that? Whose leg is that? All right, turn back to page 95, 94 and 95. And I want you to tell me, what phrase did you write next to, between Bible verses 189 and 190? What did you write? Did you write anything? What did you write, Brody?
Keep your pants on.
Keep your pants on. And then by letter D, what three words did you write there?
Pray, resist, and
Correct. You're paying attention. Fantastic. Get that. All right, now turn to page 100 and question number 74. One of the sad things, and our generation is no different than any other generation. In fact, even Moses, when in the wilderness wandering, had the same problem about divorce, and that going through that. In fact, divorce, it seemed like it was very quick. So Moses had to slow down the process, and they had to get a certificate. So they had to go through a process, and would say, okay, what is really the point here? What are you trying to, what's going on here? And so read that. So what does the Bible say about divorce and remarriage? Well, here it is. God forbids divorce except for marital unfaithfulness, adultery, malicious desertion. Tragic adultery and malicious desertion can destroy the lifelong union, flesh that God has given. The Bible allows for the possibility of divorce and remarriage in these circumstances, and He does, because divorce always involves sin. It requires repentance and forgiveness. Whenever a husband and wife experience conflicts and sins that threaten their marriage, the ultimate goal is always reconciliation and forgiveness. That's always what that is. What I found is that every time a person divorces and remarries, and they do it, the probability or the percentage of that person, those people getting divorced, goes way up. Goes way up each time. So obviously, we in the church say, try to stick it out, do your best. We understand sometimes it doesn't always work, and we do ask for forgiveness, and sometimes people get remarried. But I always say, make sure you know what happened the first time, so you don't do it again. So you work through that process and do that. So in dealing with that. Question number 75. What are some dangers or temptations that pornography poses today? And this is epidemic proportions today. Pornography is sin. You know what pornography is? Well, porno means fake. I mean, it literally means fake in the Greek. So fake pictures, fake, watching people naked and doing stuff when they're naked, acting like married people when they should keep their pants on. So this is very much so. It turns us away from God and from others. It warps our view, and we'll talk about this. It warps the view of the relationship between husband and wife and how it should be. And it is widely available, and so much so that statistically I hear that children who are 8 and 9 are being addicted to pornography. Children are being addicted to that. As it says, it turns us away from the love of God and our neighbor towards sinful desires that are contrary to His will, stimulating fantasies about sexual infidelity and adultery. Mark that in your book, highlight it. And write down, pornography promotes us seeing other people as objects and not gifts from God, not children of God. Letter B, mark this one too, highlighted. It treats others, usually women, as physical objects, as I mentioned, for selfish pleasure, rather than persons whom God has created to be His own and endow them with dignity and purpose. That's what it is. And everything that leads into that as well. The, social media, all that kind of stuff. You gotta be careful with all that stuff and making sure that we remember that everyone is a child of God and everyone should be treated with dignity and purpose. Letter C, it undermines a desire for healthy, loving sexual expression between a husband and wife in marriage and leads to unrealistic views and sinful expectations about sexuality. Remember, I said porno means fake. Fake pictures, fake whatever. It's not real. Not real. Fantasy. Not real. And so be very careful with that. What we're finding is that these children, 8, 9, who are watching all this, when they get married, they cannot be intimate, and I'll say intimate, that whole one flesh thing, that kind of, seeing that other person as God's gift, they can't do that because their brain, the chemicals in the brain that pornography produces, it messes the brain up. They've done studies, scientific studies, on what pornography does to the brain. The male brain, primarily, and female brain as well, is that it causes that people, they can't offer themselves, or they don't want to be offered, and in a very pure way, and it causes much problem later on as well. So, so deal with that. So stay away from it. Don't even indulge in it. It's everywhere. I'm amazed that you could pull up, write almost anything, and oh, look at that. Make sure you stay away from that as well. Question number 76, what does the Bible say about same-sex marriage? God created us male and female, established a marriage as a lifelong union between man and woman because of their differences, man and woman, and each are able, wherever God wills it, to bear children, nurture them. Same-sex marriage rejects God's intention and is not true marriage. That's what we hold to. It is not a true marriage. We live in a culture and in a society that, obviously this is the law of the land, but we as the church say, but they're not married. They can't. God says that's not how we express our human sexuality, the gift that God has given to us. Marriage is between one man and one woman for life. And we hold on to that and dealing with that. So, as it says here, and you see the Romans passage about, in Romans chapter 1 talks about how God gave them up to their sexual desires, to their sins, as their own judgment as well. Question number 77, what is the Christian perspective on persons who are confused about their sexual identity? During adolescence, most people come to realize a growing interest and attraction toward the opposite sex, a desire and attraction that God intended when He created male and female and established marriage between man and woman. Christians realize that a desire and attraction for the opposite sex that's God's given basis for marriage, for conception and birth of children, and for the future of earthly human life. Some persons, however, may discover that they are attracted to individuals of the same sex. Others may feel uncomfortable with the sex they were born with and wish they were or believe they are the opposite sex with the wrong body. Such desires result from our fallen nature and are contrary to the will of God. Therefore, 8. Remember that our chief identity is given in baptism, that we are God's children and heirs of heaven. First and foremost, remember that you are a child of God, and God doesn't make mistakes. Now, Satan wants you to believe that God makes mistakes, but God doesn't make mistakes. And He doesn't make junk either. He loves everyone with an everlasting love, so much so that He willingly sent His Son, your brother, Christ Jesus, to die for you in your place on the cross. Letter B, respect our identity as male or female as indicated by the body God gave us. The gift that God gives to us. Now, what they are finding, that that people who struggle in thinking they should be a different gender, especially in adolescence, that once you come out of adolescence, that normally, I would say 90+%, those thoughts go away. They go, oh, yeah, I'm still, God made me a male, God made me a female, and with that. Now, our problem is that we have adults who want to do sex change operations when their kids are, well, they can't even make a choice yet. They think they know who they are. And dealing with that. What's very interesting is that what we are dealing with today, the Apostle Paul dealt with. The same stuff in the first century. He would often go to Greek cities and he would look around. That's why in the book of Corinthians he would talk about women should adorn their hair, keep them long, and men should not have long hair. We believe he's talking about what the culture was saying, that you could go somewhere and find someone who looks, well, either both and or neither, or a male or a female, just the way they dressed, but they had their hair. So nothing is new under the sun. And that's where Paul says men should be men and women should be women. As God's people, we need to say that God made me a male, and so I'm going to act that way. God made me a female, and we act that way. And realize the gift that God has given to us. C, respect God's intention for us as male and female. Now, go back. If you remember, what is the Hebrew word for male? Go back to the beginning of the commandment. What did we call that? Males are called what? That's man. And Isha is woman. But what was male? What's the word we use for male? I know you know.
Because I had to take it all summer.
Well, what is it?
Ish.
Well, no, that's man. What's male?
Zakar.
Zakar. Remember, Zakar literally means remembering to do something important and then do it. And then, what was female? What was the Hebrew?
Nikba.
It's nigma or nekva, which means someone who receives and then reflects. Receives and reflects. So God, already in Genesis, is defining the difference between male and female, and that they go together. Remember, Adam had to name all the animals and said, oh, there's Mr. Squirrel, Mrs. Squirrel. Oh, there's Mr. Camel, Mrs. Camel. Oh, there's Mr. Fish and Mrs. Fish. Oh, there's bee, and there's no Mrs. God says that's not good. So he brought Eve from Adam's side. Letter D. Remember and be obedient to God's commandment that all desires for sexual activity are to be curbed and disciplined until we are married. Once again, you can write this again. Keep your pants on. And then after you're married, what are you supposed to do with your pants?
Hang
Hang them up. Now, Luther, he would talk about this. And he would, if he was teaching this class right now, he would be looking at all of you and saying, I understand. Hormones are start going. He would suggest that you would work so hard that the only thing you want to do at the end of the day is fall asleep. And take a cold shower. So don't put yourself in positions or situations that could lead to you taking your pants off. Keep them on. Be like Joseph. Run away. Also remember that God is preparing someone for you, and while He's doing that, He's preparing you for that someone as well. Remember that while most people will marry, God also praises and blesses those who serve Him by living chastely without marrying. So we do have people who do not get married, and yet they are truly blessings to the church, to families, to do that. Letter F, seek the assistance of parents and also pastors, counselors, or other Christian professionals where there is needed or beneficial. So do that. One of the greatest things that you can look for in a future spouse is first that they're Christian, and I would even say even more that they're Lutheran. That they're Lutheran, so that you're all on the same page with that as well. And then trust that God's grace is sufficient for us and look to Christ for daily forgiveness, strength, and contentment. That God will bless. God does bless with that. When I was your age, my pastor said to me, start praying for your future spouse. So I took that to heart, and I did. And I didn't think I was going to get married. I didn't get married till I was 27 years old. Come to find out, my grandma got married when she was 27. Of the whole family, she was not the one most concerned whether I was getting married or not. She goes, I was 27 when I got married. What's the big deal? Look at me. I had 4 kids. I had a grandson. With that, God was bringing my wife into my life. Now, just a little side note here. My wife and I grew up no more than 4 blocks away from each other. So we're in the same neighborhood. We knew each other. Her dad was the principal of the high school we went to. So guess who I was not going to go out with in high school? But she went away to college. She was teaching in Champaign, Illinois. She came home for Christmas one year, and 6 months later we were engaged, and a year after that we were married. And while some of you not now, but in the future, you're going to wonder, how will I know that this is the one? You'll just know. Like these 2 people here, you've been together forever. Since high school. I remember sitting on a bus going to National Youth Gathering. 1996, where the bus broke down.
Good times.
Oh, we took an airplane after that. So, no. With that, we had that. This little note here, in some extreme small cases, individuals are born with sexual ambiguity, for example, all that chromosomal abnormalities or bodies that are clearly not male or female. That's very rare. And seek the best medical advice for that. Whatever medical community knows what's best with that, and seeking God's guidance with that. We can do that. Now, I've said this before. I want to say this again. In fact, I want you to write this down. Many of you will be married one day. Statistically, you'll be married. Pray that the Lord prepares you for your future spouse. Knowing that the Lord is preparing that future spouse for you. And the greatest gift that you can give to your future spouse is of yourself. That you remain a virgin until you are married. That's the greatest gift that you can give to your future spouse. And that and hanging up your pants after you get married. All right. What is the 7th commandment? You shall not steal. What does this mean? We should fear and love God so that we do not take our neighbor's money or possessions or get them in any dishonest way, but help him to improve and protect his possessions and income. I want you look at the central thought. God created us to look after earthly gifts that He's given to our neighbor and for their life and well-being. Take 2 minutes and talk about what kind of things do all people on earth need for their well-being. So talk about that for a minute. So what does everybody need? Do that at your tables. So I hear you talking. So
Water. A Bible.
right, and then open to Luke chapter 19, and at your table, read Luke 19. It's about a man, a wee little man was he. And if everybody knows what I'm talking about.
I think it's a short guy.
So Luke 19, 1 to 10, read it, and then talk about the question. That's there. And if you need a Bible, there's a couple of over here. Right behind you. Oh, you got the one for 10?
You teach these kids how to look up versus.
I,
You teach them what those things in the corner mean?
yes,
Right
I'm
here.
going right. They're going pages and I'm going, my head hurts.
I know how to do it. I'm right here. See?
Read it and then discuss the question.
Through Jericho, and was passing
Then sing the song.
and there was a man named Zacchaeus. What? He was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. He was seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he heard and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. He is gone to be the guest of man who is a sinner. Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, behold, Lord, my goods I give her, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. And Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to his house, and see it. Since he also is the son of Abraham, and for the Son of Man came to seek to save the lost. For the Son of God. What church is Jesus? There's a fourth one. Can you count correctly? I have one on my phone too. Did they make a Bible out?
Yeah.
And you have a Bible out.
Like make a Bible in the hand. That's kind of replaced when we grew up. It was read the book. Remember that commercial for the encyclopedia? Read the book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the book or whatever.
Yeah, it's like previous.
Yeah, sort of.
They taught you everything you needed to know.
No, we needed them. High school, we were doing reports.
Yeah, we had to do research. We had actually had to open the book.
Go to the library. And
Yeah.
I've opened that book before. Did you just ask what an encyclopedia is?
Go to the librarian or the card and they come up an
Yeah.
elevator from the basement.
What? Is this Green Gods or something?
Index card.
All right, up on the upper right-hand corner of the paper, I want you to write these words down. God protects his gift of personal property. So God protects his gift or gifts of personal property. Question number 78, why are earthly goods such as money and possessions important? Well, these are gifts that by which God provides for his own and our neighbors' needs and the enjoyment of life. These are things that God gives to us. They're wonderful things. He gives certain people certain things. He gives other things to other people. Doesn't mean everybody has all the same things all the time, but, you know, these are gifts that God gives to us, and He expects us to respect other people and their property